Hello again, YouTube. Today I am going to be showing you a recipe that I've become quite famous for in my little circle, and I think it's something that you have to really show, not just put up. So anyway, this is my Chipotle bowl, and it's actually made to taste just like the Chipotle bowl you get at the restaurant Chipotle. And I know everybody loves Chipotle and tries to duplicate it, and I think I've gotten pretty darn close, you know, as far as what I have to use. So anyway, here's what we do. First of all, the rice. Okay, so to make rice and not stick together and be all gummy, you have to do a couple of things. First of all, I use brown rice, so I've got 3 cups of brown rice that's rinsed to get all the arsenic off of it that we can get off of it. And then I have about 3 tablespoons of coconut oil in a pan heating up. And I would always recommend use coconut oil to cook with, as it doesn't do the bad things that other oils do when they're heated. So this oil should be getting pretty hot. I'm going to go ahead and put my rice in. Okay, so now we're going to stir this rice and just get it kind of browned. We're going to stir it probably for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, something like that. Maybe 5 to 8 minutes is more like it, until the rice starts to turn opaque in color and you can see maybe a tiny bit of browning around the edges of some of the kernels. And then once it is browned up, I will turn the video back on. Okay, now you can see the rice is getting a little cooked, and again, you want to just keep stirring this. Hard to do with one hand without holding my pan still, but you just want to keep stirring it as you're doing this so that it doesn't burn. You have to be careful not to burn it. You can hopefully see there that some of the kernels are looking just a little tiny bit browned and golden, and as soon as you feel like you've got it good and hot, and it's really just kind of cooking the outside of the kernel or the rice kernel. There we go. You want to even out the pan. Even it out around the pan, and then slowly pour about 4 cups of water into the rice, about having it all swooshing up on one side. Ooh, like that. So now we can use just a little bit more water, maybe. But what we're going to do now is put this on high, and we're going to let that come to a rolling boil. And as soon as it comes to a rolling boil, I'll turn you back on. Okay, now you can see the rice is at a nice hard boil, and we're just going to let it do that until the water almost recedes. Now, you want to be able to see the top of the rice, but you still want a tiny bit of water on the top. It's really kind of a fine line that you have to shut it off at that point. But when the rice raises to the level of the water, and there's maybe just a little bit of water on the top, turn it off, put a lid on it, and just move it off the heat. Okay, we are now reaching that magical place where we turn off the rice. As you can see, there's just a little bit of water on the top, but pretty much it is seated, and all you do is put your lid on it and turn it off and just let it sit there, and about 30 minutes you'll have the perfect rice. Okay, so as I said, this is a Chipotle chicken bowl, and so we're going to start with chicken. And I get these air vacuum packed chicken thighs, boneless, skinless chicken thighs at Costco, and they are wonderful. I think there's about 6 thighs in there, and thigh meat's what you're going to want to use for this recipe because it's not dry like breast meat, and you want a real juicy meat for this recipe. So one thing I want to point out is that, you keep these in the freezers. They're, like I said, freeze-dried, and then when you're ready to make your dinner, about an hour before dinner, just put them into a pan of warm water, and they defrost really quickly. And if you're really good, you can open these up and cut them up into your bite-sized chunks and freeze them in a Ziploc bag, and they'll defrost even faster for you, and everything's already cut up. So, but tonight I'm going to be cutting mine up, so I'm going to show you about what size I want to cut these chunks, because you want to cut these chunks pretty small. So I'll turn it back on when I'm done cutting them up. Okay, so here is the chicken cut up, and as you can see, the pieces are a little bit smaller than bite size. You don't want a big chunk, but you don't want it too small either. It's not crumbles by any means, but a little bit smaller than bat size. And we're going to go ahead and put them into a nice saucepan or a frying pan that has got some coconut oil in it, and we're going to start frying up this chicken. Okay, so I wanted to point out that when I put the chicken in the pan, I get the oil pretty hot first. And be generous with your oil. I use about 2 tablespoons. And again, it's coconut oil, so it's pretty good for you, actually. Anyway, I spread the chicken out, and I just don't touch it. I just let it sit there and get really well done on one side. And at this point, you want to be sure to salt your chicken well. And I mean, do not skip this step. This is really what gives your meat its flavor, is to salt it well. So I just let it sit there and get pretty crispy on one side, and as soon as it's crispy, I'll turn it back on. Okay, so this chicken is getting pretty well done, and as you can see, if I try to flip it over, the stuck to the bottom, and the pieces are real nice and dark brown, not dark brown, but definitely very golden. So what you want to do at this point is to, I'm turning this sideways, is to turn the heat off and then move the pan off the heat and just let it sit for about 4 or 5 minutes, and it kind of loosens its grip on the bottom. And as soon as it loosens its grip on the chicken, I'm going to turn it back on and stir fry it just a little bit more, but again, you just want to stir fry this chicken pretty well. Okay, so I've turned the heat back on. I scraped the chicken up, and it kind of gets stuck to the bottom of the pan, and I know that, most people think, oh, that's going to be a horrible pan to clean, but in case you don't know the little secret and trick about how to release that, and that is where your flavor is. I know this chicken may look like it's going to taste like wood, but when you add a tomato-based chicken, it softens it up. So anyway, I've I'll explain that in a minute here. I've scraped the chicken up, and you can see there's lots of browning on the bottom of the pan, and the chicken's gotten really good and browned. Also on the back burner, I've got a can of black beans, and they're part of the dish, so they're heating up. Okay, so over here I have 2 jars of Tomatillo or Verde sauce. The one on the right, this is from my garden. I smoke the tomatillos, and I have another video on that and how to do that. And in the other jar, I just cored them, cut the stem off the top, and then cut them up into pieces and boiled them down and canned them. That's way by far the easier thing to do. And truthfully, I think from now on I'm just going to skip the smoking thing, because I found that if you will just add this and a little bit of this liquid smoke, that you get just about the same flavor you get with the smoked tomatoes, or tomatillos. So that's what I'm doing from now on. But anyway, now that your pan's real good and hot, you're going to want to go ahead and dump your salsa in on top of your chicken. And I'm just going to go ahead and use up both of my jars here, because they're kind of leftovers. I'm going to go ahead and just drop a tiny bit of the smoke in there. Since I already got my smoked chilies, I don't need to add a lot. And I'm going to stir this up, and I'm not going to do it while I'm holding the camera, because I know you're probably tired of being jerked around. So you stir it up. After you stir it up, you'll notice that it just releases all of that burned chicken on the bottom of the pan, or that well done chicken, and all that stuff on the bottom of the pan creates the flavor in the sauce. It is just unbelievable. So after you stir it all up and the stuff's released off the bottom, you're going to want to throw a little bit of jalapeno or chili flavoring into it. Now you can add like a can of green chilies, these chopped green chilies, and that's kind of a big can for the small of the dish. You might want to add about half of that can. You can also add like a jalapeno relish, which I love this stuff, and I can't find it anywhere right now, but it's a jalapeno dip mix, but it's just a jalapeno relish, and you just need like a tablespoon or so add into this, and it just kind of gives a little kick. And so after you're done doing that, you assemble your bowls. So I will get that ready and turn you back on in a minute. Okay, so now we're ready to assemble our bowls, and I just want to point out that I let the sauce just kind of simmer for about 10 minutes on low. I let it boil down for a couple of minutes, and then I turned it down low and let it simmer to let those juices from the bottom of the pan, the browning matter, get incorporated into the sauce. And if you could see the bottom of the pan, you would never know that, well, you really can't because this is too full, but you'd never know that we just burned this chicken in there. It just lifted all that up, and the pan looks like brand new, like the day I bought it. So I've taken some rice from our pan, and the rice is, as you can see, very nicely textured, and the pieces are separate, and they're got a nice chewy texture to them. So I'm going to go ahead and take the rice, and I'm going to add, this feeds about 4 or 5 people depending on how much you eat. We eat a lot. So you're going to want to put some chicken and some salsa on it. And actually you could have put your beans on first, but you should have. That's the way they do it at Chipotle. I'm using black beans. Like I said, we tend to like the black beans a little more, so I'm just going to dress them around the side here. I don't like a lot of beans. Okay, then I find the next thing to do is go ahead and add some cheese, because the heat of the salsa melts the cheese really nicely. And to that, if you would like, a few extra onions. And after that, of course, we glob on the sour cream. And oops, sorry about that. I know I'm right in your face, aren't I? I'm not going to glob too much. There we go. Now, I always mix my sour cream with half with plain yogurt, so it's not as bad as it looks. And then to top it off, some guacamole. And I, of course, just smash up some avocados, a little chopped onion in very small pieces, and some jalapeno cut into some very tiny pieces, and of course some cilantro. Now, if you really want to get good, you can flavor your rice the way they do at Chipotle, which all you do is take, after it's done cooking, take, I think it's like 1/8 to the 3-cup portion of rice I made, you take like 1/8 of a cup of lime juice. Let's see, it's 1/8 of a cup to 1/8 of a cup, half and half of lime juice and water, and you just mix it in with some cilantro into the rice. It adds another dimension. It's just crazy good. So anyway, there it is. You've got a beautiful dinner that everybody just loves around here, and I hope that you make it and enjoy it. Have a great day.